Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yes,
and I believe the last time was for Jungle Book. So the first obvious question is, what did you learn from Jungle Book that you infused into this one?
Well, I remember I started off not in visual effects, not even in film school. So I learned everything from the perspective of being an actor, then a writer. And learning about directing by being on set with other directors was a bit of an apprenticeship over my career. But over the course of making the Jungle Book, you're working with all these great visual effects supervisors and artists. And although I was in good hands and we did a really good job on that, it wasn't until the end of the 2.5 years of working on it that I really felt that I fully understood the process. And so at that point, you're frustrated because you're finishing and like, what could we do? I have these wonderful animators and wonderful artists. As a matter of fact, Andy Jones lives in Switzerland. He's my lead animator and really the creative force behind all of the performances of these digital animals. And I had this wonderful team. They had just won awards for visual effects, and everybody was celebrating that film. And it seemed that this was, as Disney was remaking their animated classics, I was imagining what we could do with this one, with all the great story, the great music, the great characters, the great set pieces, and set in Africa. And I knew that we could do cats really well. Cats are very similar facially to humans. I mean, of the animal kingdom, there's just the shape of the face, the way, the proportions. I knew when we were working with Shere Khan, the tiger, how much life was brought into that model. And so I reached out to Disney to see if they were open to us using these techniques, and we kept the team together, and we cycled into Lion King, and the rest is what you see.
Were you amazed yourself about how real it turned out to look? I mean, if you don't know that there is anything digital in this, you would really think that they came to life. I mean, they are.
On the one hand, we're very proud of that. On the other hand, I really want audiences to know that I think they would assume that we're shooting just plates in Africa and putting animals in, but in fact, everything is digital. There's nothing that you're looking at that's real. There was no photography. There's one shot that we photographed in one of our research trips that we stuck in there to see if people could tell it apart. But 1,400 of the shots are all built by artists, and every performance was hand animated, keyframe style.
Yeah, it's the magic of movie making.
Yeah.
At its best. Are you able to gauge now what engages audiences with the story of The Lion King, the messages of it, the metaphors? It all seems to work for everybody.
It's, we were inheriting a lot of the things that you have to work very hard to get on a new film. We had great themes, great messages. Even though it's from 25 years ago, it's fascinating. It feels like it could have been written yesterday. We updated the aspects that felt like it didn't age as well, but there was so much of it that felt like, especially Mufasa and the speeches that are given, the themes, the music. And so we could lock in very quickly onto what the finished product was going to be. And that really contributes to the quality of the visual effects when you're not changing things back and forth, throwing out things that are finished and starting things with, in a shortened time frame. That happens on a lot of the live action films. This one we could really concentrate on making the artistry as beautiful as possible. And so, yes, I connected with this and knew that if we got this right, we could speak to not just the generation that loves the original, but new generations that would be brought in by the magic of the visual effects and experience the story with fresh eyes.
How collaborative was the musical process, bearing in mind that, you had the Elton John, Tim Rice, Libo M, and bringing on Pharrell and Beyonce, and it's, it's all very exciting.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it really was, and the more I've worked on the visuals of this film, the more I realize the music is the star of the show.
Of course.
Because when you hear the music, it's interesting with the trailer, everybody's like connects with the movie immediately, but all you're seeing is the sunrise and you're hearing Lebo's voice, and all of a sudden you're emotionally engaged with it. You can only take so much credit for that visually when the music is doing so much of the emotional work for you. And Hans Zimmer, having been there for the original, having brought in Lebo originally, having collaborated with Tim Rice and with Elton John on the original, and now with Beyonce and Pharrell, who was a bit of a partner for him, he was the one at the center of all of it. And so in Santa Monica, he has a studio called Remote Control. And it's like this beautiful, creative space where a lot of composers all work out of. There are studios. He has screens and keyboards and instruments all around and couches. And we would just go there, sit there, watch footage. He'd play music for us. He'd record stuff. And he was the one who coordinated with, let's have Tim Rice write new lyrics for Be Prepared. Let's have Elton John, collaborate with Tim Rice again for an end credit song. Beyonce is coming in with new music she's written. How can we fit it in so it feels like it's part of the old, but you're bringing in the voice of the new? Recording their voices together as Beyonce and Donald Glover sang the duet of Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Seth and Billy doing Hakuna Matata and improvising different lines and realizing we couldn't sing along with the pre-recorded music, but having a piano player accompany them and then writing music that fit their performance. So he was the one that I really owe everything to there, and then updating the music as well while still keeping it feeling connected to the original.
Feels like the process.